Hello everyone, glad to have you here. So, for those that watch my channel, you may or may not have noticed a community post I made a while back, talking about work stresses and taking a break from streaming and video editing to rest my mind and focus more on my actual job. Well, obviously since this video is up, I've taken that break, and I'm back to doing what I was doing before. However, during my break, my racing series was still stuck in my head, and I decided I'd make some changes. But when you constantly make changes to something as it goes, over time, it becomes harder and harder to focus on it when you constantly want to add new things. So I want to make this video to go over these new changes, and give you all some insight into what will be happening to the racing series. Let's start with pretty much the most important change to this series. A restart. What do I mean by this? Basically, I'm restarting the entire series back to the beginning. With all the changes I've made to the series, I figured it was only natural that it must be restarted. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to take down the videos I've already made on the past races, especially the last review of Performance episode. I'm still very proud of that video after all, probably my best work yet. So what were the changes that brought about such a drastic decision, considering I was 16 races deep into the series? Well, for starters, there's now a points system. That's right, the Virtual International Endurance Series now has a point system, which technically makes it the Virtual International Endurance Championship, or VIEC for short. It works like this. I have a list of 260 different cars split into 24 different groups based on one thing, the best lap time I could get at Monza, which has essentially become my test track. Each group has 20 cars in it, each with a racing number to distinguish them from each car. Of course, we do still have our races in Gran Turismo 7 and ACC, so how will points be implemented there? Well, those races have been classified as special events, whereas the races in Assetto Corsa are classified as main events. This means that if I'm able to get the tracks from either Gran Turismo 7 or ACC, they will be raced in both games. Take for instance, Maggiore from GT7. I have the track in both GT7 and Assetto Corsa, so there will be a special event race in GT7, then a main event race in Assetto Corsa later on in the championship. As for points in special events, if the car is on the list and makes an appearance in a special event, depending on its position at the end, it will earn special event points for the model that go towards its score at the end of the championship. Cars that only appear in Assetto Corsa won't earn those points, unfortunately. Likewise, if there's a car in GT7 that isn't on the list, it won't earn any points. Each group at the end of the championship will have a designated winner at the end, and the overall list of cars will have an overall model winner. I realize this might end up skewed for groups that end up appearing more than others, but I only have so many races, and I have a lot of them. But hey, now those who tune into the championship can root for their favorite car, so at least that's something. Another change is something I've been considering for a while now. The addition of prototype race cars, like Group C and Hypercar. For a while, as I grew the series with more tracks, my favorite car to test each track was the Cadillac LMDH. Ever since, I've fallen in love with the new Hypercar class, and I've always had an interest in Group C, thanks to cars like the Mazda 787B and the Jaguar XJR9. These new car additions are the reason why we have so many cars in so many groups now. It used to be 16 groups and around 180 cars, so I think that gives a bit of a clue of how many cars have now been added. Likewise, there are a few new track additions, but for the most part, most of the tracks have already been added. What has been changed though, as far as tracks go, changes I have mentioned is the change of racing sim tracks in either GT7 or ACC as special events and the main events in Assetto Corsa. But another change is when our races in the US occurred. Before, my goal was to do all the US tracks in one Grand Tour, but the thing is, I have way more US tracks than I thought. So the US tracks, as well as fictional circuits without an actual given location, have been scattered throughout the calendar. So there will be a US or NA circuit before and after a transition to a new country. Another change is that I tried to make it to where a group of cars don't repeat race after race. That way there's always variety, and we aren't going from race to race with the same group of cars. It took me 3 whole days to completely reorganize this calendar into what it is now, so I think it'll be well worth it in the end. The last major change I've made to the championship is the time of the races. While I love 4-hour races, sometimes they feel like they just take too long, or I get tired pretty quickly if I'm not really a big fan of the track or the car. Plus, when it comes to full replay uploads, it takes forever to upload a 4-hour video. So what I've decided is that from here on out, most of the races will be shortened to 2-hour races. Along with that, any track that takes less than 1 minute and 10 seconds to lap it will be shortened to 1-hour races. The only races that will be 4 hours long will be the final 3 main events: Spa, the Nordschleife, and Le Mans. To add to that, I intend to do these last 3 races with at least 40 cars, which means 2 groups will be racing together, though the points will apply by group, so no matter what position the car might be in, if it's the first in its group, it gets 20 points, even if it's not first overall. Here's hoping I can actually do that though. Before I end the video, there are a few more last-minute things I want to add in before I forget. Firstly, I've decided I'm not going to stream every race in the series. I don't want to have to wait for a day off to do these races, so if I can take at least some of my time after work doing some of these races, it might help things go by quicker, or slow me down even more, considering I have so many races on the list. I'm not entirely sure yet on how things will work out, but I feel like waiting for a day off will just make this series take longer than it probably should. Secondly, every episode of Review of Performance will now only feature 1 car, track, and race, so that I can focus solely on that and maybe try my hand at race commentary, and talking about all the highlights that may occur during the race. I'm never really high energy, if you couldn't already tell, but I can probably work on that. Lastly, while I am planning on coming back to streaming within the month, it may be a little longer than that since I'm still organizing all the cars and tracks together and making sure there's as little repetition in what cars I drive as possible. And even when I do come back to streaming, the first couple streams might be spent doing track days on certain tracks with certain groups of cars to make sure things work like they should. Anyways, I think that's all I have as far as changes and decisions I've made on the series goes. I hope all of this hasn't disappointed anyone who's kept up with the series. I just feel like this is a better alternative than what I was doing before, and I feel like all the changes I've made are an improvement to what I was doing before. Of course, if you have any questions that I may not have given an answer to in this video, please feel free to ask them in the comments. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. I'll see you all again soon.